Hello again, and welcome to my creative African cooking channel, Ndudu by Fafa. Miawezulu, Ndudu by Fafa. Hello, amazing creatives. Thank you very much for tuning in for another episode with Fafa. Today we're going to be making focaccia. So to my saucepan, I've added my lukewarm water and to that some honey. The next thing is I'm going to be adding my yeast, and I'll mix all of this together until it's well combined. Once I've done that, I'm going to cover this and leave it just for about 10 minutes. And then when I can just see the froth, bubbling, I know, yes, my yeast is alive. The next thing I'm going to add to this is my sifted flour. Exactly. And then I'm just going to add my salt to taste. But I will be adding more sea salt much later. Exactly. Now, do not worry about the measurements. I'll leave the transcript of this recipe, including the list of ingredients, on my blog, ndudubyfafa.blogspot.com. Now, I'm just going to mix everything together until it's well combined. And then I'm adding my extra virgin olive oil here. Exactly. And that flavor alone is just going to make a big difference. So once I've done that, I'm just going to now attempt to, mix this. But I was just like, no, this is sticky because it's a stickier dough in that sense. So I had to, get the fingers in. And so, of course, if you're using your fingers, just make sure that you've washed it and it's thoroughly clean before you do so, because this is a sticky dough. And do not be tempted to add any extra flour. No, you don't need it. So all I'm just doing is just mixing everything together just to make sure that the olive oil infuses as well into this mixture. There is no need for you to knead this. So at this point, I think I've done that, and I'm just going to drizzle with a little bit more of olive oil. I'm going to cover this and I'm going to place this in the fridge, yes, for about 14 hours. So what's going to happen is the dough is just going to rise slowly, but it's just going to be nice and beautiful. So the day after, exactly after the 14 hours, here we have it. And it's risen beautifully. So what I'm now going to do is dip my fingers in water. And then I'm just going to raise the dough up and down. I'm not kneading it, but what I'm doing is, making sure that the air bubbles and everything comes off, but also making sure that the dough becomes smoother and shinier. So as you can just tell that I raise it and I bring it back down, you can just see the dough gets smoother and smoother. Now, my notification gang, thank you guys so much, and I cannot wait to have some more conversations with you. I appreciate each and every one of you for sharing the videos as well. And yes, to my loyal subscribers, you're always in my heart. Thank you very much for giving me this platform. So once I've now, done the dough this way, I'm just going to drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm just going to cover it and leave it at room temperature for 3 hours. After 3 hours, it would rise into this beautiful shining bubbles, And this is what I find therapeutic when creating a recipe or when cooking. It's just the process. I enjoy that every step of, okay, it's supposed to rise, and it does. Well, anyway, back to it. So I've got my baking tin here, which is a non-stick baking tin, and that I've drizzled some olive oil. Now, you can use a shallow tin, but I actually need a deep pan focaccia, yes, because I will be using it for something else. Exactly. There's a reason for it. Anyway, so now I'll just lower my dough into my well-greased baking tray. And at this point, I've preheated my oven to 170 degrees. This is the therapeutic part of focaccia that I absolutely adore. When you're dipping your fingers in and manipulating it and making those little holes, making way for your garnishes and making way for your olive oil, you're in business. So I'll be using my shallots. I've got here some baby plum tomatoes and also some fresh rosemary that I got from my garden. Now, you don't need to restrict yourself to just these ingredients. You can be creative and use whatever there is available to you. Now, I'm sure somebody might ask, can I use maybe the dry rosemary? Yes, you can. But I think it would be best if you mix it with the dough if you are going to do so. So here I'm now going to be inserting my baby plum tomatoes in there, and that's just going to be beautiful because of course when this slowly bakes, the tomato becomes intense in its flavor and sweeter, and of course you've got the saltiness that's coming through, and also the rosemary would release its oils into this focaccia. So yes, absolutely. You can use olives as well if that's what you do have available. I hope I've given you a reason to click the subscribe button now. If you haven't done so, and the notification button so you do not miss any future videos. And if this is your first time of tuning in, you welcome. And if you have watched this to this point, thank you ever so much. Anyway, so oven is preheated. I'm inserting the rosemary as you can tell. And I think this beauty, this bad girl looks ready. But of course, I'm adding the banana shallots here as you can tell. You can use your normal onions if you wish. I would advise not to use spring onions for this because of course when you bake it, it just doesn't taste right. And that comes from experience because it becomes all stringy and dry and it's just no. So it's best to use your normal onions or your banana shallots in this case. So I think this looks okay, but no, I think the rosemary was just a little bit chunky. So I'm just, checking it once over, and then I think it'll be ready for the oven. I have drizzled a little bit of olive oil to the surface of the focaccia, and now I'm adding my sea salt flakes. Now, focaccia is forgiving when it comes to salt because it's a salty bread. Absolutely. But as I mentioned earlier, I'd leave the list of ingredients and measurements on my blog, Ndudu by Fafa.blogspot.com. So this is ready, and I'm just going to bake this at 170 degrees for 30 minutes due to the width of the bread. Now, if you're doing it on a flatter baking tray or you're doing a flatter version, then that would take up to a maximum of 20 minutes for you to end up with this pièce that is a stones. Look at this. I'm just going to leave it in the tin for about 5 to 6 minutes, and then I will transfer it to a rack, allow it to cool for at least about 20 minutes, and then when it firms up, it's now time for me to cut through this beauty. Did it work? Did it not work? Look at the crust, and I love the delicate color that it has. Look at that. Da-na-na-na. If you've watched this to this point, thank you ever so much. Now, please do not forget to like the video and leave your comments below as well, and share with your family and friends. So look at this. Considering the amount of olive oil that I used, you would think that it will be so oily, but look at that. But this is what I love about focaccia, because of course then you can dunk it into your lovely mixture. So here we go. And I think a friend had asked, oh God, who are you going to enjoy this with? I was like, oh no, I've got other things to do with this focaccia apart from enjoying it. Definitely. But yeah, have I given you that reason to click the subscribe button? I hope I have. And yes, it's best to serve it with your extra virgin olive oil and some balsamic vinegar. It makes a big difference. So try it. You never know. As I mentioned, I'd leave all the list of ingredients and measurements on my blog, Ndudu by Fafa.blogspot.com. So do check it out. And I serve this as well alongside my baba ganoush, which is the smoky aubergine dip, and it's incredible. I'll leave a link in the description box below, and as well as link it at the top so it would give you easy access and you can familiarize yourself with this combination of flavors. You've got that saltiness, you've got the sweetness from the tomatoes, and you've got that smokiness. You will also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat as Ndudu by Fafa. So pass by and say hi. Nurel, thank you very much for my theme song. You are appreciated. And until my next video, please take very good care of yourselves, especially your mental health. Place yourself in positive places or create that positive environment. Use your sense of smell, memories, read a book, call a friend. Exactly. Take your spirituality a little bit on the serious side. And yeah, just try and be a better version of yourself each day. Guess what? Me, I love you for you. So never forget that. Until my next videos, toodles, kings and queens.